everybody, this is Jarrell Mason of the Time Machine on WUAG 103.1 FM. Right now on the phone with me, I have a legend in the world of news, especially in the North Carolina, Raleigh-Durham area, former anchorman of WRAL TV5, Mr. Charlie Gaddy. Mr. Gaddy, welcome to the Time Machine, sir.
Thank you so much, Jarrell. It's good to be with you today.
I definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to do this interview with me.
Well, I'm glad to do it, and glad to be working with you and with your station there.
Thank you. Now, let's go ahead and get this interview started. What made you want to go into news, and what was your upbringing like growing up?
I grew up in a little crossroads town in the middle of the state. It's called Biscoe. It's in Montgomery County. My father operated the Carolina Power and Light substation there. We grew up there in the company house right beside the substation. When World War II came along, I was too young to be in it, but it made an incredible impression on me. And my father followed the news, and we would sit on the front porch on summer nights with the radio on and listen to Ed Murrow broadcasting from London, and I believe that's what planted the seed in my mind. It was just magical to me that Ed Murrow could be speaking to us from London all the way to Biscoe, and I think that's what planted the seed in my mind that broadcast would be something exciting.
And for those of you that don't know, Edward R. Murrow is a native of North Carolina, and if you go to Greensboro, they have a street named after him, Murrow Boulevard.
That's right. Not only that, Murrow, set a standard that is still looked up to in our entire industry.
He's definitely one of the big heavy hitters, and that was definitely displayed during George Clooney's movies, Good Night and Good Luck.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell me about your start in news, like your first market job, and how did you happen to land at WRAL?
When I was drafted into the Army at the end of the Korean War, that is, as soon as I finished college. After serving in the Army, I went to Washington, D.C. With the idea of going to law school. I took a half a semester of law school and realized that while I hadn't flunked out, I would not be happy with going over contracts and torts and legal method every night of my life. And so I just sort of threw in the towel and decided to do something I really had in my heart, which was broadcasting. I went over to NBC and got a job as a page boy right there at the owned and operated station on Nebraska Avenue. I was there for 2 years, met my wife there who worked at NBC, and got a better job in Raleigh. I came to Raleigh and worked for WPTF for 10 years, and then in 1970 crossed over to television on WRAL. So that's how I got to Raleigh. I got a better job than the one I had in Washington, and I've been here ever since.
So what was it like coming from Washington back to Raleigh and working in the Research Triangle Park area, the Raleigh-Durham market?
It was exciting to me because I had a menial job at NBC in Washington, and I got myself on the air up there by winning an audition for summer replacement announcer. But coming to Raleigh for a 50,000 watt station, and there are only two AM 50,000 watters in the state, or there were then, and one was WBT and one WRAL. It was a big jump for me. I mean, it was exciting for me. Big step in my career. So I did not feel it much of a step down coming from Washington as a step up.
So how did they determine who gets assigned to the 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30, 11 o'clock news? How did they assign the anchors for those time slots?
Well, for many years, for most of the time, I did 6 and 11. They are considered, the 6 and 11 are considered your top newscast in terms of potential viewers. The 6 o'clock news is still considered the number one time slot. Now with all the cable and so forth, and all of the access to time that news departments have now, people don't have to wait until 6 o'clock. There's a 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and so on. But in those days, the big ones, the big newscasts were 6 and 11, and so you try to put what management considers their top team on at 6 and 11, and then they fill in the others as those newscasts become available.
So what was it like during news back in around the 70s and 80s when the technology wasn't there like it is today? Because back then you had to get your film roll, and that's where we get the phrase film at 11 from.
Jarrell, you're absolutely right. When I started at Channel 5, the news was displayed, news stories were put on with black and white film. And gosh, what a mess that was. But that was the top technology then. Then we went to color film, and then we graduated. The technology came on with the videotape, and the process continued with live telecast by what in the early days was microwave, and then went into satellite telecasting, where now, as you well know, you can report from any spot on the earth and shoot a signal up to the satellite and beam it into your station if the news story is worth your doing that. So the technology is absolutely amazing. Even on the battlefronts now, you can take a telephone. You can take a telephone and get shaky and grainy but live pictures back from a telephone with sound. It's amazing to me.
I could definitely agree with that. Now, what was the combination like with you, Bobby Batista, longtime weatherman before Greg Fishel, Bob DeBartoleben, and former anchorman for WGHP Piedmont for sports, Rich Brenner, and then later on you had Tom Suter, who's still doing sports today on WRAL.
It was wonderful. I mean, as you well know, broadcasting, especially television, is a team sport. It's not one person. It's a combination of the team you can assemble, and those people that you have mentioned were professionals. They were great to work with. We had a team that we were proud of. I look forward to going in there every single day and working with them. Bob DeBartoleben was one of the most popular weathermen, not only in this market, but in the region and in the United States. And the co-anchors, Bobby Batista and later Adele Arakawa and now Pam Salisbury, I worked with all of them. They were all bright and professional. Tom Suter is fantastic, and Greg Fishel, who took over when Bob retired, is one of the best, I believe, in the nation. So now all of that goes back to the management of the station, to Jim Goodman, really. He's the one who assembled this team that we're talking about, and we enjoyed ratings success